We gathered in a city up north of Australia called Darwin.
You ready?
Not really.
And the lovely couple here?
Yes,
Hello.
Hi.
we
You
are
guys
ready.
ready?
The idea of this adventure was to travel from Darwin through the Outback down south to Melbourne, and this trip should take 19 days, 6,400 kilometers. The only problem was that we had to go through the Outback, where there were no roads, a lot of wild animals, and no phone signals. Good morning. Today we will start our trip. We're going to go with everybody to Kakadu.
Hello.
Oh, hello. How are you?
Where are,
I'm hot
we,
already.
where are we riding today?
Riding Kakadu National Park, about 300 kilometres out of Darwin, and we'll be stopping at the jumping crocodiles. If you do pull over at any stage and it's just for a matter of going to the toilet or a drink or anything, just give me a thumbs up.
So, where are we going to?
Kakadu. Jumping crocodiles.
Jumping crocodile.
Jumping crocodiles.
No idea, I'm just following these guys.
On the first day, we headed to Kakadu, but on the way, we stopped for a cruise to see the jumping crocodiles.
Oh, you already got your shorts on. You gonna go swimming with the crocodiles?
No, I was thinking no. I'm definitely not going to.
We all then changed into something comfortable and headed to the boat. We're going on a boat. They're gonna feed the crocodiles. It's me and Steven here.
Correct.
Yeah, we're sitting in front.
Now, I just got to go through a couple of simple safety points with you all before we get too far up the river and amongst the crocodiles. Now, there's plenty there, one for each seat, so everybody gets a life jacket.
There are two types of crocodiles in Australia, freshwater crocodile and saltwater crocodile. Freshwater crocodiles attack small animals, and humans are not in their food chain. However, saltwater crocodiles are the most dangerous crocodiles. Now, we have been warned not to get our hands over the edge because they do jump out and attack. Now, these saltwater crocodiles live in the sea and can live in lakes. They're known to attack larger animals, and they do attack humans.
To the synchronised swimming. I think she's actually full of eggs, that's what I'm guessing. She looks very heavy. It saves them from infection. They get bugger all infection, like considering the bacteria in the mud in this river. Here he goes. Here he goes. Yeah, top.
And then as we headed back, we saw hawks feeding on fish.
It's an eagle,
that-
right? It's an
Sorry?
They're eagles, right?
Nah, kites, whistling kites, same as a hawk.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Now, once that fire burns out, these things pick up a smouldering stick or a burning ember, carry it over a grassy.
We then got back to our bikes and found a visitor waiting for us there. It's always very important to check your helmet and boots before wearing them again. You never know what you might find inside. We then continued our trip to Kakadu, and we stopped to get ready because most of the road is going to be unpaved. There was this strange looking rock, and when we had a closer look at it, turns out it's a termite hole.
They're all very small.
So, they fly, right?
They fly, and there's millions of them inside one of these big ones. Check out their
Termites.
they're tunnelling.
We then continued our ride through an unpaved road. These routes are marked on the map as roads, but in reality, they're all gravel. A few of us were new to off-roading and had to adjust a little to it. And we stopped for a little break. So we're ahead, we just crossed the Crocodile River. That was freaky. The lake or something, I don't know. But luckily we didn't go inside the water, we went to the side of it.
It'll have to do.
The bikes were clean, I swear they were clean.
Now they look like dirt bikes.
Day one.
Miguel and Rafael are used to riding on paved roads, so Steven gave them a few tips on how to ride on gravel.
And that's all your momentum. Push the bike to the curves and You can see a lot further. Back and forward, like, yeah. It just goes so much smoother. But you need to stand all the time.
You look like you're in the army. Your face has all those lines.
I'm an old man.
So, how was it?
We survived.
Yeah.
28 kilometers left and we should be reaching Kakadu. But those 28 kilometers weren't easy. We had to go through soft sand. And a few of us got stuck.
Second gear. Put it on second gear.
I have taken an advanced course for soft sand and dirt riding, so for me, this was just fun. Paul had a small fall and we had to stop to give him a little
So
break.
the guys are all here, taking a break.
And then as we sat there, we saw a strange looking insect that looked like a stick.
Looks like a stick. It's an insect. Is this poisonous?
No.
So I can just hold it?
Yeah. They're eating nachos and ice water now, aren't they?
I'm going to eat this bug because I'm dying.
Very close to the hotel now, swimming pool, cold water, massage.
And after 260 kilometers, we finally got to the hotel. And a lot of us were tired because we didn't expect that much sand.
But
That was a lot harder than Jerry led us to believe.
no,
It
but
was a lot
he was
longer.
saying that.
Yeah, and it was a lot longer than he said it was going to be too.
We just got to Kakadu. It's hot. And this is the bike. Check it out.
This is the Outback. Well, the easy part. But ahead, there will be no roads. Just gravel, dirt, sand. There are no phones, no network, just our support vehicle riding behind us. There's nobody to communicate with except each other.
You mean rocks?
And this was our support vehicle. It drove 15 minutes behind us and had all our luggage. And it was just great to finally get into the room and have some rest.
This is my room. And a place to take a shower. And a place to sit outside. So now we're gonna jump in the pool and have a swim to relax.
Day 2 was an off day, so it's actually a rest day. We didn't do much riding.
So I'm sitting here in the boat with Ian and the rest of the group. And we're gonna go see the sunrise.
Early morning the next day, we went out on a boat cruise to see the sunrise. Filled with fog, the place was just magical. We cruised along the lake as the sun rised and cleared the fog. Birds flew by and greeted us to their land.
So we're all here looking at the sunrise. Beautiful place.
And as the fog cleared up, you could see all kinds of animals there. Horses, all sorts of birds.
These are called the whistling ducks.
We even saw someone fishing on his boat with his family. And just across, there's a crocodile in the water. This place was the best nesting place for birds. There was also a kangaroo. Well, actually, this is a smaller kangaroo called a wallaby.
We're going somewhere that's nice, probably on the hills, and look around there.
We then headed to Kakadu National Park, a place called Rock Art Gallery.
It's Aboriginal rock art site in Kakadu National Park. Just waiting on our local guide who's going to give us a little walk and explanation of the rock art as we head up and watch the sunset.
If you're wondering about photos, you can take photos of absolutely anything here. Okay, so go for it. The only thing you can't take photos of is myself. So that's it.
You were never
Who's in
here.
trouble? And so the ladies will come along and they'll pull out the central stalks and they'll strip off the very, very fine little fibres and spines here, and then they'll split the leaf in two and then literally just pull it all apart until you get the fine threads. But this plant is very, very good for a lot of little animals hiding in there as well. And if you look very, very carefully, just on the side, as you walk along, you'll see, let's see if he comes around there.
Oh, I just saw him.
You just see him?
He's over in this
Yeah. So what they are dwarf tree frogs.
We're standing here looking at the artwork from the countrymen that used to live here. This is many years ago, maybe 30,000 years ago, probably. And they have a lot of paintings here. Bird. So back then, if you walk by here and you want to know what to hunt, you just look at the pictures here and know what you can hunt.
So basically, what this is a menu for hunters. They get to see what's available to catch and go hunt for it.
Paul, did you find anything interesting on the menu today?
Yes, I think barramundi.
Barramundi. Okay. We'll try to go and catch 2 of those. You see kangaroos. Baby kangaroos hiding down there.
Enjoy it, get some great photos, and have a very safe ride back.
So the guide stops back there, and we're gonna continue up and see the view from the top.
The guide ended his tour back there, and we continued the climb up the hill to watch the sun set on this beautiful land.
Waiting for the sun to go down. Hello, how are you?
Day 3.
3. Stephen and Miguel. Stephen is our professional on the trip.
Professional what?
Professional biker.
Professional storyteller?
How was your trip yesterday?
It was excellent.
We went to
Jim Falls.
Jim Falls.
Photo to follow.
We missed that.
We're leaving Kakadu National Park this morning on our way to Pine Creek.
Okay.
And then heading through to Catherine. So short ride today, about 300 kilometres, but another beautiful day in paradise. It's about 300 kilometres. So look, our first stop will be just as we're coming outside of Kakadu National Park boundary. It's going to be going the other way, but it's a beautiful side, and I think it's a nice spot for us to stop and have a photo there.
How long is that? An hour?
So we're all ready to head to Pines Creek and then to Catherine. That's where we're gonna spend the night, at Catherine's. Temperature there is like maximum 37 degrees. It's gonna be hot and lovely.
A good tip to know: if you see a kangaroo, drive but be careful. But if you see an emu, stop as fast as you can.
I was filming when the kangaroo crossed.
We just stopped at Kakadu. This is where the sign is. Oh, he's in the sign. And we will continue our ride to Catherine. This is Shelby. Shelby. So how's the ride so far?
Fabulous.
We then continued our trip to Pines Creek, where we stopped to refuel our bikes.
We're refueling and we will continue our journey to Catherine's.
See, the small bikes need fuel. The G1200 still keeps going.
We then continued our trip to Catherine. That was a 300-kilometer ride all day.
That's where reception is. That's where we've got a kiosk, so you need to get rooms.
This is the place. Parked my bike here, got my gear out. And Stephen doesn't seem to like his room. He likes to sit on the tree.
That's not true. Here we are. Day 3, Catherine. We're going to hang around till about 3:30, and then we're going to go on a very scenic sunset tour of Catherine Gorge on a boat. Now, how can that not get any better?
We then set the table, had our meals, and then headed to Catherine Gorge for a boat cruise. As we got to Catherine Gorge, we saw something strange and amazing.
And these are bats. Can you see them? Bats hanging in the trees. This is a first.
These bats were huge, and they were hanging on the tree in broad daylight.
It's just amazing.
Yeah. Strange thing them in broad daylight.
Their actual name is megabats. The wing size of these bats is about 2 meters, and they only eat fruits, so that's a good thing. We then got our tickets and hopped in the boat. We went on a cruise along the gorge and then stopped at a place where we could go for a short trek.
So where are we? Miguel.
Catherine Gorge.
Catherine Gorge.
You see the one up there?
Yeah.
The place was just beautiful. We took a few pictures and then headed back to the boat. And to our surprise, the boat turned into a restaurant where we were greeted with champagne and juices. And as the sun set down, we saw something amazing. The sky was filled with bats. Those megabats covered the sky in a way that made it look dark. It looked like they were flying to the moon.
On the island.
Our ride today was to Tennant's Creek, and we were briefed by our road
down
captain.
to Mataranka. Everyone does have their... Everyone going to go for a swim?
Yeah.
No. That's all right. If you're not, there's a lovely little coffee shop and nice little pool area and music playing. You can just chill out there, those that want to go for a swim. It's only like a little 5-minute walk down a walkway. Elsa's Sheet, I believe the next stop will be at Larimar.
So we'll be riding 107 kilometers to Mataranka, where there'll be a hot spring and we can swim in it.
Right here, it's hot water springs, so just gonna go and have a jump in it.
Mataranka is a name given by the Aboriginals to this place. It means home of the snake. We didn't really see any snakes there, but what we saw was an amazing hot spring, and we had to have a bath.
So how's the water?
Oh, this is really good. After a long ride, the water was clean, warm, and just perfect.
Down there and
This was the source of the natural spring. It was coming out from underground in a huge amount. It was beautiful and amazing. We then continued our ride and stopped by these strange-looking rocks. They actually turned out to be old termite nests. One this huge would take years to build.
This is like a really old one, and they just eat out of the wood, and this is the waste that comes out of it, and they nest inside, I guess.
We then continued our journey to Laramie, where we stopped for a break.
Just arrived at the Pink Panther pub. Yep, Pink Panther pub. This is what it is.
Everything at this pub was pink. They even had a pink panther sitting on a helicopter, a pink panther sitting on the side. Even at the pub, you'd see this beautiful pink parrot.
Hello. Hello. Hello.
We then continued our ride to Daily Waters pub for fueling and to have coffee, something to eat. This was the pub. It's also a supermarket. And at the bar, you're welcomed by the bartender for a cool or warm drink. The strangest thing about this place is that women, after having their drink, would remove their bra or pants and hang it there as a memory. It was a really long drive to Tennant's Creek, especially that there is no roads. It was just gravel.
Done about 550 kilometers. We have 150 kilometers to go.
We then reached our hotel just in time and saw these lovely chicken and fed them. The next day, we headed to Alice Springs. It was about 510 kilometers to get there. Tennant's Creek is known to have many attraction areas. So we decided to stop at 4 of these attraction areas that were on our way.
So we're here at Devil's Boulders. The place is called Devil's Boulders. The rock formation here is really nice. It's like marbles, big rocks.
We then continued our ride to Wheatcliff Well to get some gas for our bikes. Wheatcliff Well is known to be one of the world's top 6 UFO sightseeing areas. A lot of people come for these sightings, and the gas station had drawings welcoming humans and aliens.
It's kind of like Area 51. It's where all the alien sightseeings happen here. And all the cars, trailers come here to see if they can see some aliens. Just like the States, Area 51. There's an alien spaceship right there. And 2 aliens. Let's go say hello. Hello. Welcome to Earth. They don't speak English. You don't have to be afraid of me. I'm okay. We're white. You are green. This is Miguel. I need to get a picture with our alien friends.
And as our support vehicle arrived, we decided to take a break and have our meals there.
Don't want to be chopping off any fingers on the first week. Just wait for a minute for that. Be right to go. I know you're all starving. Just be a minute, though.
And just before leaving, I had to get my friend a gift.
So I got Stephen a gift.
I thank you very much for this. I'm going to cut his small bit of bullshit because I'm going to give you Campbell shit.
We then continued our ride through Barrows Creek until we reached Elrion Art Gallery, where we saw a strange sculpture. We had to stop and look at this art gallery to see what it was all about.
It's like a statue of this lady and her daughter. There's a lizard here. And the husband is out there hunting. Where is he? He's right there. See him? He's out there hunting.
Then we continued our ride to Alice Springs, but on the way I saw some strange looking things. They looked like kids, but when I stopped to take a closer look, it's a termite home, dressed with a shirt and a baby's hat. This was very creative. And finally, we reached Alice Springs after a long day. Day 6 was a rest day in Alice Springs. So early morning, we went out on a hot air balloon ride. And we were off. Looking across the horizon, waiting for the sun to rise. We were about 1,000 feet up from the ground, and we can see a train passing by. And below us, we could see some animals gathered. Suddenly, as we headed down, we got very close to a power line.
hit the power lines.
Yeah.
But our balloon captain used his skills to cross over it.
Power lines, yep. Plenty of space on those.
And we landed back on the ground. No.
This was my first trip on the balloon. We traveled about 35 kilometers. The height was about 1,000 feet.
We just held back the hot air balloon because, of course, we need to pay for our ride. We don't have any cash. This is how we do it.
We were then given glasses and offered a choice between champagne or orange juice.
Starting to get scary.
However, they were in. The co-pilot managed to get out of the basket.
Capsule, mate.
We then took our bikes and headed to Stanley Chasm. It was about a 40-minute ride. Stanley Chasm, known traditionally as Ankerli Atawati, meaning gap of water. The gore is 3 meters wide, 80 meters high, in the West MacDonnell Ranges. As I walked through these colorful rocks, it just reminded me of Petra in Jordan.
This is just like Petra. Jerry's here, and he's holding the drone for Miguel. And Miguel is trying to set it, but he seems not to have any signal. Got it. We're up. That sounds like a big flight. So what is this place called?
Stanley Chasm.
Stanley?
Chasm.
Chasm.
Chasm's a rock formation like this one here.
And as we headed back, my eyes caught this sign that said, "Experienced walkers only."
Section 3. I'm gonna try to go up, see what's up there.
Although we had to get back before sunset, but that sign made it really tempting.
Oh wow! There's a trail here.
I tried to go up as fast as I could in order just to see what beauty lies ahead.
I wish I could continue going up there. All the way up to the top. But the guys got to ride back, so I gotta head back.
And I headed back real quick just in time to catch up with everyone else. The next day, we filled our bikes up with gas and headed to Kings Canyon. The weather was really nice in the morning, but as we rode, it got hotter. We then turned off to a camel farm, where we had a little rest. I wasn't really excited about the camel farm. We had a lot of them in the Middle East.
We're stopped here to look at camels. What's so special about camels? You come to Australia, you expect to see kangaroos, koalas, and they've got camels. I thought that was only in the Arabian Gulf.
It was interesting to see a different sleigh used here
No way!
than the one used in the Middle East for camels.
Look at what they got on the camel.
This thing must have been real heavy on the poor thing.
Look at their knees and that as well, huh?
Yeah, that's from kneeling down.
Yeah.
Hey boy. Oh. That's a nice animal. It's really tame. Say cheese. Cheese. Smile. Yeah, here we go.
We then headed to the bikes to continue our ride, and I was surprised to see stickers of snakes all over my bike and helmet. It must have been Steven. He wanted to get back at me for the bullshit gift. It's on! We then continued our ride through the sandy roads. It's not usually this soft. It's hard gravel, but from time to time you get soft sand. We then stopped to take a little break from the ride, but were surprised by the amount of flies they had in that zone.
There's so many flies here. It's just this area. Surviving the flies. Who needs nets when you got helmets?
And then it occurred to me, no Australian told me the "G'day mate" greeting, so I asked Stephen.
You're Australian.
G'day, mate.
Hey, mate.
How do you say g'day, mate, in Kuwaiti?
Well, you have to have an accent. It'll be like, good day, mate.
But that's English.
That's English. Yeah. You want to say it in Arabic from right to left?
Yeah.
Mate, good day.
It's not right. It's just not right.
Charlie, how do you say good day, mate, in an American accent?
Yo, dude.
Yo, dude. No, you gotta say good day, mate. Say it.
Good day, mate.
We don't say good day.
You don't say good day.
What do you say?
Hi.
What if you? Well, you're in Australia. You gotta say good day, mate. Say it in your accent.
Good day, mate.
Good day.
Not bad.
You never know anything, don't you?
I need to think. This is too hard.
He's on vacation.
Crocodile Dundee.
No, good day, mate.
Good day, mate.
Buenos días, señor.
No.
Isn't that goodbye?
We then continued our ride to King Canyon Resort, parked our bikes, and headed to the cafe.
And to get to the cafe or restaurant, I have to go somewhere around here. And where exactly? Now we gotta be careful here because there's a. Oh, they saw a dingo.
Dingo is a rare dog found in Australia. It's very dangerous and known to attack children.
Outback barbecue.
This was the restaurant and bar area. We passed it and continued our walk to see the sunset.
This is We're all going to see the sunset.
Yes, we are.
Yep.
At the end of the trail, we gathered at a point where everyone came to see the sunset.
Sitting here.
Let me take a selfie to myself.
Yeah, take a selfie to yourself. And
Can you take me a selfie? Some people.
waiting for the sunset. Of course, we're not facing the sun because we have to look the other side.
At the other side is the King's Canyon, and as the sun sets, those rocks give a colorful reflection. Everyone gathered to take time-lapse pictures, and from a distance we saw a flock of parrots flying by.
How many pictures did you take?
300 maybe.
300 pictures?
Yeah.
The place was just beautiful, but it was getting dark and we had to get back and have our dinner. The next day, we started off by trekking at King's Canyon.
Good morning. We're at King's Canyon and we're gonna go and do a little hiking, mountain climbing. Shoes is on. Morning, Paul.
Hello.
Where are we going today?
I'm just following the crowd. I'm going for a walk around the canyon.
We're doing a little hiking today and we'll be climbing up these mountains up here. I'll be doing the blue one, King Canyon Rim Walk. And here are the guys. And we're heading off. So that's where we're going.
we went up exploring this beautiful mountain. This mountain was home to the Aboriginal people for more than 20,000 years.
Hello. Finally made it all the way up to the top, and still waiting for the rest of the guys to come up. I don't know if you can see them, but they're down there, and the cars are parked all the way over there. Now we have to continue going all the way around. It's all...
There were many paths to explore, but our target was the Garden of Eden.
Oh, steep steps.
And finally, after a long walk, Miguel and I finally got there. This was the Garden of Eden. The place was just beautiful. We then decided to go to the top to have a better look at it from below.
And this is where the water is, and up here.
But then we had to head back real quick in order to have our sandwiches prepared by Andre and head to Uluru. The ride to Uluru was 310 kilometers. It was an easy ride as there was asphalt to ride on, but we still had to be cautious because you never know when a kangaroo might jump by or an emu. We stopped in a rest area to take a little break, and in front of us was this beautiful view of Uluru.
We just arrived at Uluru. We're gonna go inside and check in.
We arrived at the resort in Uluru, dropped our bags, and quickly headed to Uluru to see the sunset. On the way, there was a gate and an entrance fee to be paid to enter. And as we passed it, we could see the huge Uluru Rock from a distance. It was a huge rock, and all we can think of is, how did this rock be here in the middle of the desert?
So it just floated here?
Yeah, mate, we moved it here.
Nah.
We needed a tourist
The Egyptians, the Egyptians, the pharaoh got it here.
No, aliens.
Aliens, yeah, probably. It looks like a...
You read Von Daniken.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
Uluru? No, Uluru.
Uluru.
Starts with a U. Uluru. Yeah, we're here waiting for the sunset. We'll change a nice shades of pink into a red. Yeah, but if you get up early in the morning, and of course there's a bitumen road right around this thing, and the sunrise comes from the other side, it's spectacular.
So you gotta come see it from morning.
Yes, you do.
We're sitting here waiting for the sunset, having something to eat. Wonderful view. We're just waiting for it to go dark.
We then headed back to the resort and were ready for dinner. We had to choose our steaks and cook it ourselves. It was a fun experience, and the meat was fresh and perfect. The next day was a rest day, so me and Miguel decided to go to Uluru, Olga's, and a helicopter ride if we had the time. So we both got on the bikes real early and headed to Uluru. There's a lot to see today, and we needed to manage our time. As we got closer, you can see the beauty of this sand rock. The colors were so beautiful, it's like a photographer's paradise. From above, you can see the shape of this wonderful rock. Uluru known as the Iris Rock, is a large sandstone rock formation in central Australia. It is sacred to the Aboriginal people. We stopped at the side of the mountain where there was a point where people could climb up.
This is the rock.
The climb was very steep. It looked scary, and some decided that it's not worth to go up. I wanted to enjoy the thrill of climbing, so I decided to go up. For this climb, you need boots with good grips.
Have to get to the ropes there, if you see them. This is the hard thing about this. There's no steps. So you're basically walking on the side.
As I was climbing, the man in front of me lost his grip and came down rolling towards me. I had to grab him and stop him before he hurt himself. I didn't take any footage of this as I needed my hands to grab him. I then went down and joined my friends for another site on Uluru for a little walk. As we went round the rock, we saw tourists on scooters. The guides there had an interesting way to explore the mountain. We gathered here to have a quick walk and look at the waterhole.
We're out here. There's a waterhole. We're gonna go check out the waterhole. It's here. What is it called? We teach you?
Mutichulu.
Yeah, we teach you. That's amazing, the colors of the rocks here. Head into the water.
There is another rock formation nearby. It is called the Olgas. Me and Miguel decided to have a quick ride there and explore it. The Olgas, also known as Kata Tijuta, is 60 kilometers away from Uluru. It is a dome rock formation that is also sacred to the Aboriginals.
We just got to the Olgas. This is the track. Valley of the Wind is where we're going.
As you walk there, the people are very friendly.
Hello, how you doing? Good day. You gotta say good day, mate. Alright? It's like good day, mate. Good day. And it's just
There you go, man.
good day. How you doing? Good. Fine, thanks. Great. Just gotta be careful. You don't get snakes around here.
Maybe just go there and take a picture of that valley.
Okay, Miguel's not happy. He doesn't want to head back, and we have to head back.
No, I don't want to do the whole circuit, but I want to do this other lookout.
So we are here, and I'm just gonna go and drink water. 200 meters. Yeah, sure. I'm gonna head back to the bike.
And we had to, cause we needed to head to the helicopter ride.
Hello, this is Kevin, my friend. Met him on the way down from the August. And this is Lee. Oh, they're traveling with a caravan. Now that is something we gotta do.
We then headed back to the hotel to catch up with the bus that would take us for the helicopter ride.
Where are you taking us, Miguel?
We're going up. Hopefully, yeah.
Yeah.
And we're not walking there.
We're off to a helicopter ride.
Past each other on the way back for you.
Getting ready to get on the chopper.
The chopper would only take 4 people, so it's the 3 of us and the captain. This is the Olgas. You can see the distance between it and Uluru. Our ride was to Uluru and back. And It was a fun experience.
Well, that was fun. What do you think, Miguel? How was it?
It was awesome.
Awesome,
The
yeah.
views were amazing.
Balloon or this one?
They're different. Balloon is longer. It's fun for a longer time. This is short excitement.
And on the bus, we had a discussion on how safe the helicopter is.
Mike was saying that has a direct drive, so it cannot disengage from the engine. So if the engine stops, the propeller stops, the rotor stops. While these bigger ones, the Rangers, they have clutches and you can disengage.
The next day, we headed to Cooper Pedy. The ride was about 760 kilometers.
Good morning. We're up today and ready to head out to Cooper Pedy.
But first, I had to get back at Steven.
So this is Steven.
If you remember, he's the one that put all those snake stickers around my bike. Now, what is known about Steven is that he had his cotton pads for his ears in his left side sleeve, and the idea was to replace them with marshmallows. I later found out that Steven hardly changes his cotton pads. It was a hot day riding through this desert, and I was worried the marshmallows I replaced in his sleeve would melt and ruin his jacket. So I decided at the next stop to spoil the surprise and ask him about his ear pads.
G'day, mate.
Good day, mate.
Welcome to South Australia.
How do you put these cotton buds in your ear? Yeah,
Like that?
Yeah, but where are they? You change them every day?
Yeah,
Where do you put them?
in my sleeve.
So let's see them. Are they cotton or marshmallows?
They're definitely cotton, but because you're... Oh, I see. Smart ass. That's what we call a smart ass in Australia.
Military?
We arrived at what's known as the border between northern and southern Australia.
Southern territory. See, now we're entering the southern territory. What we got to do is get rid of all the fruits, vegetables, because it's not allowed in the southern territory. We are in the northern territory, and we have to get rid of everything before entering the southern territory. So we're going to have a meal here, and then we're going to continue our way to Cooper Pedy. So all these fruits have to go, and you better eat them before it goes. Jerry, again, why do we have to throw all the fruits?
Because these flies.
Fruit fly.
One of these flies is in the tomato, and then we take it over the other side of the border, chuck it out the window, infestation, crops destroyed.
So they have no flies there? Is that it?
That's right, yeah. A lot of states have some pests and other states don't have others, so...
Okay.
There's flies, but not fruit flies.
No fruit flies. So now we gotta dump all of this. That's such a waste.
We then continued our ride, and on the way, I hit something.
And crazy things across the street here. Lizards and stuff, snakes, and look what I just passed over. You see it? What is that? It looks beautiful, but it's unfortunately dead. Yee! Scary stuff.
We then stopped at Cadney Hamstead for fueling and some coffee.
Welcome to Cadney Homestead. We're in Cadney, and there is no flies here. Oh, there's a pool there too. We're having coffee at this place in Cadney. Look what I just found.
We then continued our ride to Cooper Pedy, which was known as the opal capital of the world. But as we got there, we noticed that there are no buildings, except for stores. Other than that, it's all hills. The reason for that is that everyone lived underground. This place is known for the opal hunters. After digging for the opals and clearing it, they turn it into their homes. The hill you see in front of us is our hotel. We just got to Cover Penny. And this is our hotel. We were given the keys by the receptionist and then headed to the room.
We've seen quite a few sunrises and sunsets.
This was our hotel. The place was spacious.
Hello, Paul.
Here was Paul's room.
We're on the ground at last.
Hello. Sorry, man. Hello. Here's Miguel's room. Yeah. And at the corner there, that was my room. This place is big. There are many other rooms around there. This is my room, room number 18. Coffee table, TV, an air fan, and 2 beds. Hello. Last but not least, this is the bathroom. We then headed to the store to buy vegetable and fruits, as the ones we had were thrown away before entering the Southern Territory.
Like that. That's really good. It's a big day. You have one little set, one puncture or something. You're coming in the dark. Yeah.
Fresh strawberries.
Bananas with a monkey. Edit.
And by now, everyone knows I love bananas. Early morning the next day, we went for a walk to see the Old Timers Mine Museum. And as we walked, we noticed that this city had a drive-through cinema, probably the only thing above ground. We also noticed these danger signs. It was to remind us that there are many unmarked holes around. We are at the Old Timers Mine.
There's the tourist refund scheme, so...
We were given a quick tour of the shop and a map before heading down to the mines.
So you have to remove the hat and wear this.
There we go, I'm good.
And we're entering the mine.
The mines had many paths and signs on where to go. It was fun to explore and see how the miners used to live here. After abandoning these mines, miners would turn them into houses. Here is an example of one of the houses. These were real houses. This was Jacob's house. He was a postman. And here was his wife, Mary Holiday. She was the first wife to arrive at the field in 1921. Here is an example of the modern house in Cooper Pedy. This was the kitchen and living room, and here was the bedroom. And let's not forget the toilet. Above at the gift shop, you can see here the opals, the rocks that they used to dig out. We then got back to the hotel for our barbecue. Our chef today is none other than Steve. What do you got for us today, Stephen?
I've got some Texas hamburgers, some plain hamburgers, savoury sausages, sautéing a bit of onion, and the best part about it, none of it's going to be for you.
Aww.
This man here, he picks on me. I'm a very insecure person, but he keeps picking on me. Little does he know he's got a big surprise coming.
Oh God. We then hopped on our bikes and headed to Williams Creek. There was no road. It was just gravel. We made a sudden stop as we noticed one of the bikes had a problem. It seemed like one rock went right through the plate guard below, cracking the oil pan, and it started leaking oil. Something had to be done. It was then decided that Christine's bike should take a break until we find the parts to fix it. We then continued our ride to Williams Creek. It was 170 kilometers of rough road. It was really a relief to finally see the hotel. We needed to get off these bikes and have some rest.
Williams Creek, and this is the place. It's out in the desert. It's like an airfield. They have small airplanes they fly. I hope they have coffee.
We got to the bar to collect our keys to the rooms, and we were shocked to see how much the population was at Williams Creek. The sign said 12.
Very different to our previous hotels.
Yes.
Quite a shock.
The rooms weren't that good, as Paul said. But for us, we just needed to throw our thick clothes off and have a rest. The water we showered in was salt water, and on the side there was rainwater to clean our faces and hands with. The next morning, we got up and got ready to head to Murray.
How did you sleep last night?
Oh, I'm on
And the road conditions are good?
That's enough for you. It's typical dirt road. A few corrugations, some of it's really smooth, and there's a couple of little soft bits, but it's fine.
There is 202 kilometers to Murray, and it's all off-road. And this is the hard part.
The road to Murray was totally off-road. The bike became so annoying as it rattled all the way. With a GS 800, the bike is stiff. You can feel it shake your whole body. But with a GS 1200, the suspension is more smooth and comfortable. As I rode through the desert, I came to an oasis. It looked beautiful. I had to stop.
Out of nowhere, you reach this oasis here in the middle of the desert, and just park by next to it. I don't want to get real close to the water because there might be crocodiles here. It's Australia. I think this is the closest I can get. It's beautiful, yet scary.
As we continued the ride, we came to an old abandoned railway station called Kurdi Murak, also known as Stewart's Creek. You can see the water towers from a distance, and we had to stop and have a look.
Old water towers. This is probably 50 years old, maybe 100 years old. Never know.
Nobody here. There's nobody here, right?
No. Abandoned.
Yeah, abandoned.
The line was closed in the 1980s, and these buildings were abandoned. All you can see inside is people's names and reminders that they passed through here. And I myself had to put my name there, like everyone else.
Had to do it.
We then continued our ride to Coward Springs, where we took a little break as we noticed our support vehicle has gone missing. As there was no method of communication, Jerry headed back to see if Andre and the truck are okay.
Gonna go check out the water here.
As we waited, me and Miguel decided to go and check out the hot spring.
Nice sort of place.
We're at Coward Springs, and I'm gonna go jump into the spring. They say it's hot water. Gonna go check it out.
There used to be a hotel here called Coward Springs Hotel in the late 1800s, and it was demolished in 1965. All that is left of this hotel was this pool hot spring.
So this is the place. It's hot water?
No.
No? Well, jumping in.
The water was warm and refreshing. It was just what we needed after a long ride.
That's good.
What's the bottom made of?
There's like a metal and there's something glowing. There's water coming. Wow! There's water coming from here.
We then got word from Andre that the support vehicle was okay, and we were asked to continue the ride.
Just arrived at the South Lake. It's pretty big and white. It looks like snow over there. Guys are parked there.
At this point, we found out that we had another problem. The exhaust on Raphael's bike was loose and was about to fall off, but we managed to find a metal wire and tied it up to the frame. As we continued our ride to Murray, we noticed a field that had planes that looked like they were from World War II. We had to stop and look. The planes seemed real, and there were parts of the engine on the side. We then finally arrived at Murray after a long day of riding. The town looked like a ghost town. It felt like we're the only one there. But as we reached the hotel, we were relieved to see people, and we were happy to get off these bikes.
Back to Murray Hotel. That was a long ride. Tiring. Was it tiring? Piece of cake. Piece of cake.
Because of the rough road, one of the other bikes hit a rock and dent the rim, but it was manageable to ride with.
Andre, they had a flat tire.
Andre and Jerry finally arrived with the support vehicle. It turns out that the support vehicle had a flat tire. Luckily, at the gas station, there was a tire repairman to replace it.
So do you want it tonight?
No, I'll come and see you in the morning.
All right, no worries.
We then collected our keys and headed to our rooms. These chalets were our rooms. They were big, spacious, and comfortable. Just what we needed after a long ride. We then went to the bar to have a few cold and hot drinks before we went to sleep.
Finally, out here with the guys, having a drink.
But you don't.
Coffee.
You don't find it difficult having your problem. You can.
Early morning the next day, we had our breakfast in the Tom Cruise room. This was not Tom Cruise the actor. In fact, this is Tom Cruise, the mail delivery guy, and this room was dedicated in his memory. In 1932, Tom Cruise used to deliver the mail to Murray with his diesel truck that he drove through sand dunes and floods. He was famous here. And this was one of his trucks, which was parked there in his memory.
Tom Cruise's cars.
We then got on our bikes and headed to Flinders Ranges. It was about 315 kilometers. But on the way, we found an old abandoned town in the middle of the desert named Farina.
So Ruth, what is this place? Farina? Farina.
Farina, it used to be a town.
Town.
Look at all the buildings on the map. Well, there must be the station over there, I think.
All that was left of this town was these signs and these ruins, nursing hospital, a hotel. We decided to go and look inside this nursing hospital.
Into the past.
Imagine living here. You wake up in the morning, open the window, and this is what you see with the kangaroos going by. That was the life.
After walking around the old town, we decided to have a little break and something to eat. But then in the bushes, we noticed something moving.
There's an emu here. I'm gonna try to get close to it to take some photos. This is dangerous because it's in the wild and might attack.
How quick is it moving? Hmm? It's going away. I think this one is the mother. It's lighter color.
We then got back to camp as we needed to get ready to continue our ride to Flinders Rangers. As we continued the ride, we came upon two kangaroos jumping on the side. And suddenly I noticed that Paul wasn't behind me, so I rode back to see if he was okay. Paul was sitting on the ground when I saw him. Turns out he hit an emu. Luckily they were both okay, just a few feathers on the ground, and the emu continued its way. And after a long tough ride, we finally got to the road.
The stones come out.
Paul's bike had a flat tire, so we needed to stop and repair it.
Where did that axle go?
What is that? I reckon it's a kangaroo skull. It was stuck on the grid there. If you look below, it's full of bones. Dead animals.
I tried catching a kangaroo on video, but I couldn't. Most of them just run quick on the road. They're too fast for me to take a photo or a video of. There's one dead one here by the sign. There's that kangaroo. Poor thing.
We were then stopped by two lovely policewomen and were asked to breathe through a machine to test our alcohol level.
It's just getting the numbers up.
Check.
Everybody has to get tested. I'm still waiting for a drug test. I never had one. Come on.
The officers then showed us these two lovely baby kangaroos that they had with them.
Baby kangaroo.
The mother kangaroo was hit and killed by a car, and the officers took the babies and saved them.
It's soft, it's nice.
It's soft, huh?
Yeah, look at him.
Who
Look at
is
his
this
hands.
guy?
Look at his hand.
Baby, is it?
Yeah. Such a sweet kangaroo. He's shy.
Yeah, he's shy, very shy.
He's hiding his face.
Sleeping.
Come on. Come on there. Show your face.
I want to go home.
We then continued our ride and came to a point where we had to off-road again. Every time we go off-road, we have to stop and set these bikes by switching them to the off-road mode and turning the traction off. And after a long day, we finally got to Flinders Rangers. Every time we reach a hotel, we're always excited to get inside and see how big the room is.
24.
The bigger the room, the happier we were. The next day was a rest day. It was very cold in the morning here, but it does get warm later on in the day. We gathered at the restaurant to have breakfast and to agree on what the plan was for the day.
Good day, mate.
Good morning, g'day.
The park here had many wonderful sceneries and animals around it, so we decided to go up the hills and mountains and enjoy it.
Hello, Cobber.
Hello, Cobber.
How's the King of Kuwait today?
So what Rafa do?
I was just saying that I love the dirt, so I'm just showing you my appreciation.
The off-road that I'm going to take you on is going to be nothing more than what we just went on there.
No, that I like that. I'm used to that mountain stuff.
It's very
Different to the sun.
Andre, very nice, not burning down a track, hanging on for your life at 80 kilometres an hour.
We then got on our bikes, took a route through the park to the mountain, enjoying the scenery and the animals crossing by. And we finally reached one of the hills and had a beautiful view from the top.
Well, that was just great. All the way down from there. And
somewhere over that one.
we're going. Where is it? Hey, Jerry.
Very cool.
All the way down to there.
Hello.
Hello.
How are you today?
Fine,
Looking
thank you.
particularly fresh.
Yeah, with these mountains.
This is a bit like the home's not quite like this, is it?
No, it's just like this. We got mountains. We got
bit
all
more
this
sand
green.
though. Bit more sand.
Green, but it's not much green. It's just yellow.
Not as many trees.
We got trees, but they're all yellow.
Yeah.
On one of these mountains, they had a beautiful campsite here. There's even a trail right next to it with beautiful trees and colorful plants around it. We then headed back through another route. It was more muddier, but fun to experience. We then stopped as we saw two emus walking around on the side of the road. As we rode back, I noticed a black rock that was moving, or rather crossing the trail. I avoided it, but I had to stop and look at what it was.
What'd you say? It was where?
It was a lizard, a big black lizard that looked like it had two heads. The name given to this lizard is skink. or sleepy lizard. And we didn't want to bother it much, so we just left it and headed back to the hotel. And by the time we reached the hotel, there were 2 emus there, waiting to greet us. The next day, we headed to Barroso Valley. It was 435 kilometers of clear road, no off-roading today. The road down south got greener and greener until we reached a town called Jamestown.
Temperature here is 17.5 degrees Celsius. So we're in Jamestown now. Go and have some coffee at Tucker's Cafe. Bikes all parked here.
After we had our coffee, we waved goodbye to Jamestown and headed to our bikes to continue the ride to Barroso Valley. And on the way, the scenery got beautiful. It was so green. I had to stop.
We just passed Jamestown and the atmosphere here has just changed. It's all green and really green. Phosphorus green. It's just amazing here. And the weather is much cooler. It's about 17.5, about 18 degrees Celsius.
I then had to quickly catch up with my friends. The problem was that I didn't know which side to ride on after all the off-road we did. All I remember is that in Australia, they ride on the left side, so I hope I had it right.
We reached here today at the Barroso. It's like a big field for grapes. I guess they do wine here, and it's really nice. It's all farms. It's beautiful. Just enjoying myself sitting here near the flowers, the grass. It's just wonderful. And Miguel is in the hunt for crocodiles. It'll either snap at him or he will snap a picture at it.
We then gathered at the restaurant to have our dinner before heading to bed. Early morning the next day, we headed to Rome. It was about 435 kilometers. But first, we had to stop at the National Motor Museum nearby. And the road there was wonderful.
So we just got to the museum, National Motor Museum, and we asked if we could walk them under the shade, and they said okay. Beautiful ride. Enjoyed the weather, enjoyed the ride. The curves were amazing. This is my motorcycle.
This is...
Mine is white.
Yes?
Yep.
He's got a best part.
We then continued our ride to Manu, where we stopped to have some rest and then crossed the river.
Just got to this place. We're having a barbecue here. It's by the lake, and these are the bikes parked. And guess what car that is?
This was a Triumph. I only thought Triumph built motorcycles. I never knew they built cars.
In this lake here, I don't know what these birds are. These are gulls. These I don't know what these are. They sound like duck. Hello, strange looking ducks. There's so much. And here's the lake. You think they got crocodiles here too?
Yeah, jump in and find out is right. I don't know. You know, it wouldn't surprise me to see them have an occasional one down here this far.
Yeah.
But you never know. There's a sign on the other side. The flood level in 1956 was up to the top of that stump there.
Wow.
Was it 5.1 meters or something like that? And that's high.
It is.
That's really high.
And our chef for today is Ian.
Hello.
Hello. So what are we having today?
We're having beef, sausages, and beef and garlic risotto.
Yummy. Thanks for our lovely chef today.
Pleasure.
Thank you, Ian. As we say in Arabic, Tislam Eidik, which means bless your hands.
Thank you.
We then continued to the ferry and waited our turn for the crossing. As we crossed, the weather got better and we needed to wash our bikes from the dirt. We then quickly got back on the road and headed on the scurvy road to Robe.
We arrived at the hotel. Long ride today.
We got to the Lakeview Hotel in Robe. It was very windy and very cold.
After a rough day yesterday, the weather cleared up today, thank God.
We headed to Gushin's Bay for a walk by the sea before continuing our ride to Hall's Gap. We then continued our ride to Hall's Gap. It was about 435 kilometers, but on the way, we stopped at a stadium. So me and Miguel wanted to go and take some pictures with the train rail close by. Getting the bike on the rail was easy at first. But then, when I stopped and tried to get the bike off, it was really hard. Those rails were huge. Miguel even tried to help. We tried to lift the bike over the rails. but it was just too high. Another method came to mind was to drop the bike on the side of the rail and then lift it off the rail. But it was too risky. We didn't want to injure these bikes.
I told you. Those rails are impossible to go over.
We finally found a way to get the bike off the rail, and I was so relieved that there was no train to come by and hit us. We then got back to the stadium where everyone was getting ready to continue the ride to Hall's Gap. We continued the ride until we reached Grampians National Park. We stopped there to have a look at the mountain view.
It's on top of the hill. Andre's here.
As we rode, we came upon a field filled with kangaroos. I stopped to take some photos with them, although I was warned to be careful as their kicks can break bones. These were the male kangaroos. They were big and looked pretty tough, so I didn't want to get close to them. I approached a smaller female kangaroo. She didn't seem to mind me getting close.
There's a second pair of ears sticking out there.
Yeah, that one's got a baby.
That's his foot.
That's foot.
Yeah.
It's a baby. I think it's a baby. Hello. What you eating there? They like grass, I guess.
We then arrived at the hotel in Hall's Gap. The location was beautiful.
Just got to the hotel. These are the seats, and this is the view. So it's a nice place to sit outside. But look at our guests. We have guests. So you're gonna cook that?
At the restaurant, Mike ordered a steak. They gave him a hot rock to cook the steak on.
The stone?
The key, I don't know if you got instructions there, Mike. The key is to...
I wanted to try something different, so I had the kangaroo meat. It had a different taste than beef, but was interesting.
Have you seen enough kangaroos yet? Have you seen enough kangaroos now? Not on my plate. You want to see more kangaroos?
So this is the kangaroo.
How could you eat those poor furry little critters?
This is the beef. Beef or lamb?
Beef. It's called hot rock.
The next day, we headed 210 kilometers to Port Campbell. But first, we rode up north for a few kilometers to Mackenzie's Falls.
We're walking to the waterfall. It's a big waterfall here. So at Mackenzie's Falls, we're going to the falls, and no swimming. And oh, kangaroo! Hey, kangaroo! That's a big kangaroo. We are out here walking to the waterfall. Still walking. It seems like a long walk.
Another waterfall.
Looking at the waterfall from above. We should be down there.
This was where the guys were standing. And since I like waterfalls, I decided to quickly go down there, have a look at the waterfall, and come back up. And as I got down, the scenery got better and better. I was speechless. The waterfall was beautiful.
Amazing place.
And down here you can see some rocks that people cross by to go to the side of the waterfall. And I wanted to try that. I crossed the rocks and stood in front of the waterfalls. There wasn't much there. I thought there would be a cave. So I had to cross those slippery rocks again and head back. There were other beautiful trails that took you to other falls. The place was just magical. It kept me going.
At Mackenzie's waterfall, it's just amazing. This is a small one, then you get to a bigger one, and then eventually the big one. I couldn't get there, however, because we're on a tight schedule and I have to head back.
And after a tough climb back up, we got on the bikes and headed down south to the Great Ocean Road. We then made a quick pit stop, had some coffee, and headed to the beach.
Let's go to the beach.
It was a beautiful ride by the beach. The first stop was Logan's Beach Whale Nursery, where we were hoping to see some whales.
We just got to the beach here, and they say they have whales here. It's Logan's Beach Whale Nursery.
We didn't actually see any whales there, but we saw some surfers. We continued our ride, stopping at Bay of Islands, the Grotto, London Bridge, and finally Port Campbell. Our second stop here was at Bay of Islands. The scenes here were beautiful. You could go for a walk for 32 kilometers just around the park.
Steven Spielberg is here.
Hey everyone in Kuwait, how you doing? Only one day to go.
The next stop was the Grotto. It is actually a sinkhole by the sea.
Best place to work out.
And that's the sinkhole behind me. And then we quickly continued to the next stop.
For our last stop, they call this London Bridge. London Bridge is falling down, falling down, falling down.
This rock formation was called London Bridge.
What do they call this?
London Bridge.
It used to look like London Bridge, but on January 15th, 1990, part of the bridge collapsed in the ocean. And now they just call it the London Arch. We finally arrived at the hotel in Port Campbell and drove our way to the reception with the motorbikes.
We just arrived at the motel, and this is my room. Here we go. Oh, my bag is here. Lovely. What is here? Oh, the bathroom.
The next day was the last day, 285 kilometers to Melbourne.
You thought it was me. You thought it was me.
Yes. And look at yours.
Someone that day gave us nicknames and tagged them to our bikes.
Now you got that started on me. What are you? Drone Man. And what are you? Rafa.
What?
Rafa is my sister's name.
What?
Rafa is my sister's name.
Shit. Cool name.
We didn't know who put those tags with the nicknames on our bikes, but it was funny.
And what else have we got? Any drink? What do you have? Silent. The big deal.
It's a woman's riding.
It looks like a woman's
Yeah, you
riding.
probably made the girl at the
I'm
hotel write them
wondering
all out
who it
for
was. I'm wondering who it was.
you. It wasn't me. I would have had a better name than that for him.
Ah.
What would it be? What would it be?
You're not allowed to swear in Australia.
Well, did you see Paul?
Yeah.
You fucker. Now he sits like an Indian. Look at that. Look at that.
Show me you in the trot.
He's very proud of his name.
We then continued our ride by the ocean on these lovely curves all the way to Melbourne. This was the Great Ocean Road, and whenever we saw a good spot, we would stop and take some pictures to remember. We rode to a point called the Great Ottawa National Park. Surrounded with these big trees, it felt like we were riding through a forest. I then heard sudden braking and I noticed that the person behind me has stopped. So I quickly stopped and went back to see if they're okay.
Did you see the one on the road?
No.
There's a
Paul
koala.
almost killed it.
The koala? There's a koala on the road?
There was a koala scene and Paul had to stop there. I managed to get a picture. I saw
You
you.
almost hit a koala too?
Yeah.
Poor thing, Paul nearly hit a koala.
Emo and koala fucker.
Koala bear. Hello. Hello, lazy bear. Just made it to the beach. Weather seems nice here. Look at that. This is fresh water. This is seawater. They're all hanging out here having something to eat. I'm just gonna go to the beach. Wanna go and touch the water, Rafael?
Yeah,
No sharks.
We can try.
This was called the Apollo Bay Beach. The water was cold, and I just loved the sound of the waves there.
We're like about it!
Just parked by the Great Ocean Road. The curves are amazing here.
This road stretches to 243 kilometers. It's an Australian national heritage built by returned soldiers between 1919 and 1932, dedicated to the soldiers killed in World War I. It's the world's largest war memorial. This was our last stop. We just wanted to have one last look at the ocean before reaching Melbourne.
It's very calm to see here.
Very calm.
We then continued our ride and reached Melbourne, where we had a shock of civilization. 19 days through the Outback and countryside, and suddenly you see helicopters, trains, planes, coffee shops of all kinds. And the crowd around us, it was just like a shock to us, and we were just trying to adjust back to normal. I have spent 19 days with this lovely group in Australia that I will always remember. Thanks to all of you, and I will always remember you.
Looks like we made it. Look how far we've come, my baby. Might have took the long way. We knew we'd get there someday. They said, I bet they'll never